Hello guys, it is Shubham here. Welcome to part 2 of our Flutter News app series where we are developing the app from scratch using the News API. So don't forget to subscribe our channel so that you won't miss a moment of this incredible journey. So let's get started. So now let's move to the home page again. We'll add the trending news section here. So first I will make the UI of the trending news. Then we'll use the news API to get the news in our trending news section. So here I will use the row. Now inside the row I will write the container. Now I will show the image using the image.asset here and we'll call the image that we have saved in the images folder. So in the row, first I want to show the image of the news. Then we will use a column where I will show the title at the top and the short description about the news. I also want to tell you that so when the user will click on this news then they will redirect to a web view through which they can read the news in more detail. So as you can see, I have wrote a container here and in container I have gave a image using the image.asset and we got the images that we have saved in the images folder. Now we used a clip react to provide the border radius to the image. Now I will write the text inside the row and I will write some news here and will provide some styling to the text widget here. Now as you can see it is showing some overflow error, so I will wrap up with a container and provide some fixed width to the container so that it takes only that much space that we want to provide in the container. So as you can see, as soon as we provide the width to the container, it changes the line automatically. I will also recommend you to don't provide the fixed width inside the container because if you check the app on the multiple device, then because of the different screen size, you may face the overflow error on the different devices. So to make the app more responsive, you must use media query inside the width. Now I want that the title should be at the top, so I'll provide cross axis alignment dot start in the row. Now I'll provide some width between the image and the title. So as I have told you, just below the title, I want to provide a short description about the news. Then I will wrap up the container with the column here. Inside the column, I will write the container again and will provide a short description about the news here. Now you can also give the width to the description. We are providing the text widget to avoid the overflow error. Now let me provide the height between the title and the description. Now I am fixing the width according to my choice. You can provide the width according to your choice. Just make sure how much space you want to give at the right side of the screen so it will be more clear for the user to read the news. So now I will wrap up the row with the material widget here and will provide some elevation to look it more clear for the user to read the title and description about the news, and will provide some padding. Now we'll provide some border radius to a material widget. Now it's look good. Let me write one more section inside the trending news so I can show you how it will be in the form of the list view. I am just writing the UI here. As I have told you before, I will use a news API and will call all the news in the form of the list, and will use a ListView.builder to show all the news here. So it is showing some overflow error here. So I will wrap up the container with a single child scroll view so that user can scroll the screen according to his choice and there will be no overflow error. So now let's move to the pages folder and we'll create a file name landing page.dart here. Now inside the landing page.dart file, I will create a stateful widget name landing page, and I will write scaffold widget, body, container, child, column, children. Now inside the children widget, I will show the image as I have shown in the UI before. So let me add the image here. So as you can see, I have added the image here, and I have used image.asset to show the image that I have saved in the images folder. Now I have used a with media query dot of context dot size dot width so that our image will cover the complete width of the screen, and I provided some fixed height here and use a fit box width dot cover to use a complete width and height we have provided here. I have used some random image here. You can use any of the image according to your choice. Now I will remove that height and will use a media query for more responsive image so that we can test the app on the multiple devices. Now I'll wrap up the image with a clip react to provide some border radius to the image. So I will provide the border radius 20 here. Now I'll provide some margin from the horizontal direction, and vertical too. Let me add the border radius according to my choice. Now I will write a text widget inside the column widget just below the image widget we have provided, and inside the text I will write news from the world for you and will provide some styling to the text widget here. I want that world for you should be in the center, so I'll provide the space between the words in the text widget and will make it to the center using a slash n here. Basically slash n changes the line if you use inside the text widget. So now it looks good, and now I'll write one more text below this text widget. So inside the text widget, I have wrote best time to read. Take your time to read a little more of this world. Now I'll provide some styling to this text widget. Now I'll use again slash n method so that I can provide some space between the text here and will make it to the center. If you don't want to use a slash n here, then you can use the text inside the column widget also. Just you need to wrap up the each text with the center widget so that it will move the each text widget to the center. Now I'll make a customize button name get started here so that when the user will click on the get started button, then they will directly move to the home page. Now I will use a container to make a customize button here and will inside the text I will write get started and I will provide some styling to the text widget here. Now I'll make the width media query dot of context dot size dot width and will center the text widget. Will provide some padding vertically. Now I will provide some height between the text widget and the customize button we have created. Now I'll wrap up the container with the material widget here so we can show our button in more highlighted form. Now I'm wrapping up the material widget with the container widget again because I want to also provide the width to the material widget we are providing here and will provide some elevation to the material widget here. Now I will move to the image and will wrap up the image with the material widget here and I will also want to provide some elevation to the image we have mentioned above. So our UI part is done. Now we'll use a news API org to get all the API and we'll show the news in our app. So let's move to the home page again and I will click on the get started button and we'll move to the home page. So inside the trending news section, I will use a news API to show all the news here. So first I will call the API and will store all the news in the form of the list and will use a ListView.builder widget to show all the news in the home page of the app. So let's go to the NewsApi.org website and I will show you how we can get the API from this website. First, as you can see here is a Get API button. So if you didn't have the account in the News API website, then click on the Get API key and just fill some of the details, and you will get one API which will be directly connect to your link so that you can access all the API in the app. I have already signed in the website, so you can see my mail at the top. As you can see, there are the many APIs you can use according to your choice. But I want to show the news in the trending section, so I will use this link to show all the news in the list view that we have created in the UI of the trending news section. But before adding the API in our app, let's move to the pubdev file, and we'll use a HTTP, and we'll copy the HTTP package from here and paste it on perspecaml file. I also want to tell you why I am using a HTTP package here, because as you can see on the API link, it usually starts with HTTP. So to call the HTTP in our app, we need to use HTTP package here so that we can call the API through the app and directly connect to the server, and we'll get all the information from the news API server and get the all the news in our app in the form of list, and we can show that using a list view builder widget. Now I will use a KCAC network image here package, and will copy the package and paste it on perspecaml file. So now let's move to the model, and we'll create a article model.dart section here, and we'll create a class name article model. Now inside the article model, I will write some string here, and inside this string will get all the data from the API. In this trending news section, we'll call this API here, and inside this API you can see a list here, and now inside the article, as you can see, the list of map has been shown here. Now I want to call the article section, and I want to show all the list of map inside my app. So I need to get each list here that is wrote inside the articles map here. So as you can see, in each list there is author, title, description, URL to image, content, etc. But we need these all five things in our app. So I will create a string name one by one. So string author, title, description, URL, and URL to image. And last, content. So now let's move to the service folder again, and we'll create a new file name news.dart here, and inside the news.dart file I will create a class name news here, and will write a list name news where we will save all our news that we will get through the API. Now I will create a get news function in the future, and we'll use a string URL and inside the URL string I will copy the API or URL that we want to call through the app and get all the details or the list that have shown inside the article section. Now where response await http dot get URL. So I need to import the package here. So I will go to the http again and will copy the package link here and will paste it here. So inside this I will write URI dot parse URL. So through the get method we are getting all the things that have been wrote inside this URL and we are saving in the response. So I will write where JSON data and will decode the response that we have saved using the get method here, and if the JSON data status section is equals to OK, this is what I mean. So as you can see, if the status is OK, then it is calling the article map here. Now JSON data articles for each. Basically, I have told you articles are the list of map, and inside this map there are the list of source that we want to get here. So here is the map I'm talking about, and here is the all the list that I have shown you. So if the element URL to image is not equals to null and if the description and URL to image is not null, then we will get all the details here because URL to image and description are the main section here that we need on the app. As you can see on the total result, there are 7564 lists here. So there are the many cases where the URL to image and description may not be provided, but these two sections are the main to I want to show in the app. So I'm passing the condition that if the URL to image is not equals to null and description is not equals to null, then we'll save the list inside the news here. I had forgot to call article model here. So I will go to article model.dart again and we'll call all the string one by one. So now title. So I will get the title as you can see here. Now element title. So element is the first index he is talking about, and inside the first index I will I need the title here. So inside the inverted commas I am writing a title that will be saved in the title section here, and we'll do same for the description, URL to image, URL, content, etc. So it is done. Now I will use news.add article model to save all the articles one by one. So let's move to the home page and we'll call the list that we have saved in the news.dart file here. So I will create a list name articles here. So now I will write a get news function here to get all the news that we have saved on the news list in the news.dart file. So in news class we'll get all the news here, and in the set state method, so I'm writing a bool loading is because when the app will go to the home page, then it will call the API and get all the news in the trending news section. So it may take some time to load all the news and save on the list, then show on the home page of the app. So if it takes some time, then rather than showing the error here, I will use a circular progress indicator here to show that all the news are loading and will get that news from the API in just few seconds. So inside the set state, I will make the loading false because once we get all the news, then I want to show the news, so I will make it to false using a set state method here. So now I will create a stateless widget named block tile here and will paste the UI that we have wrote just for the trending news section so that we can call each time we want to show a list of the trending news. Then we can call the block tile here and will pass the image URL and title to show the each news one by one in the form of the list. So I need image URL, title, description here. Now where we have wrote just for the UI. So I will change and write image.network and will call the image URL, and same for the title and description. Now inside the body, I will write if the loading is true, then we want to show a circular progress indicator here, and if it is false, then we'll show all the news that we have shown in the home page. Now inside the container, I will write the list view builder so that we can show all the news that we have saved in the news.dart file. So in item builder, I will write the index, will get the article length using the item count. Now return block tile and will return the each list, description, image and the title one by one. So article index dot description, same for the image and the title. So it is done. Now let's move to the init state and we need to call a get news function here so that whenever the home page is called, get news function will be called and it will save all the list in the news list we have created here, and with the help of that list we can see all the news in our trending news section. So now let's move to the terminal and run the flutter run command. Wait for a few seconds. So our app has launched successfully. As you can see, we are facing some overflow pixel error here. So the image we have called from the API is not loading inside the trending news section. This is because I have used image.network in our block tile to load the image from the API. But we have also copy one of the package named Kekek network here. For this reason, I have copied the package before in the perspec.ml file because I want to show you that whenever you call the URL of the image from the API, never use image.network there. It will not load the image or it will take too much time to load the image. So for better experience, use always Kagag network in place of image.network. Now I'll move to the block tile and will change the image.network with a Kagag network. Now inside the Kagag network image, I will pass the image URL. Okay, we have wrote the Kagag network here and hot restart it again, but we are still facing some error. So I made a small mistake here. Inside the image URL, we need to call URL to image here. So we need to change it to URL to image here. Now hot restart it again. So as you can see, the image has been appeared now. So we are facing some scroll problem here. So inside the list view builder, I will write physics and clamping scroll physics. This will give a better experience whenever the user will scroll the news in the trending news section. Now it's look good. We need to give some margin from the bottom. So there will be a space between the two news that we have shown here. So we'll wrap up with the container here and we'll provide the margin from the bottom. So I'm writing edge insert dot only bottom 10.0. Now, as you can see here in the title and description, it is providing us all the title and description that has been wrote for the specific news from the API. But I don't want to show this much line in the title and description. So I will move to the text widget and will give the max line to show how much maximum line we want to show in the text widget. So I will write in title max 2, so it will show maximum 2 line here, and in the description I will write maximum line 3, so it will show us 3 lines in the description. So now it's look good. So as you can see, the user can read how much news they want to read in the trending news section. Now, I want that whenever the user will click on any of the news, then they will redirect to a web view where they can read a news in more detail. So I will move to the pages folder and will create a new file name article view.dart and will create a stateful widget name article view. Now we'll move to the perspec.yaml file and we'll call a web view package here. Now you can use the updated web view version from the pubdev also, but in the updated version of the WebView Flutter there are lot many changes, so you need to create a controller and many more files again and again. So I will refer you to use exact this version 3.0.1 that I wrote here, so that it will be easier for you to use a web view in Flutter. The newer version is more complex than this version. Usually I prefer this version in most of the app because it is easy for me to use a web view inside the app. Now let's move to the article view again, and inside the container I will write child and will write web view. Now initial URL, and we have to pass the URL that we have stored in the article model. So I am writing a string blog URL and will get the URL in blog URL and will pass it to the initial URL. So now let's move to the home dart again, and we need to write on gesture detector navigator dot push method so that we can move the user to the web view. Now in article view we need to pass the URL here, so I will write a URL in the string and will get the URL from the news list. Now we'll pass this URL to the blog URL. It is done. Now let's move the terminal again and we'll hot restart it again. click on the Get Started button, and when I click any of the news from here, then as you can see, we have successfully moved to the web view where we can read the news in more detail. But I want to provide some app bar at the top, so I will remove the container and will write a scaffold widget and will give a body as a container. Now I'll pass the same app bar that I have wrote in the home page. So I will move to the home.dart again. We'll copy the same app bar and we'll paste inside the scaffold widget. So it is done. Now hot restart it again. Now we'll click on any of the news. So as you can see the app bar here and the back arrow to move directly to the home page of the app. You can read any of the news from here in more detail that will send you to the web view and can access the news in more better way. So this is it from this video. On our next video, I will add the other APIs from the newsapi.org and you will get the fully functional news app in your app bucket list. Before we wrap up, I wanted to share something interesting with you. I have noticed that while 90% of you are enjoying our content, you haven't hit that subscribe button yet. Let's change that together. By subscribing, you will be joining the majority and becoming a part of our community. Don't miss out on the awesome videos we have planned. Hitting that subscribe button will keep you in the loop. Thanks to all our current subscribers, you rock. And to the rest, come on board and let's make that 90% shrink. Hit the subscribe and let's dive into more exciting content ahead. So keep coding, keep having fun. Until then, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.